It's time for Waking Up with Wesley. Today's forecast and weather-wide discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley is sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.
Hello there, South Mississippi, and thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Well, it sure is foggy outside. Take a look at what we're expecting. The fog will continue this morning, although it may clear as we head into the 9 o'clock hour for many of us. So that's some good news there. We'll take a closer look at some of the cam views of that fog later on in the video, but I do want to start things off by switching gears and talking about the tropics, because you are probably about to hear from the National Hurricane Center of some information that maybe there's a new system out there. Before we get to the current tropics, I want to test your knowledge with a little tropical trivia on Tuesday. So first of all, here is the question. Which was the most recent hurricane to make landfall on the Mississippi coast? We covered this in GMM earlier today, so you might already know the answer if you tuned in. Is it Hurricane George, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Nate, or Hurricane Zeta? Which one of those systems was the most recent one to have the eye move over the Mississippi coast? Harrison, Jackson, or Hancock counties? That's what we mean when we say landfall, and you've got just a few moments left before the answer is revealed, so lock in your guess. All right, so that answer is C, Hurricane Nate. So since the year 2017, no hurricane has had its eye cross our coast. Now, have we seen other storms hit us? Yeah, I mean Zeta in 2020, Ida in 2021, some other storms that happened after that. We've seen impacts from other storms, but the specific landfall where the eye is directly over the coast, it's been 8 years since we've seen something like that happen. That was Hurricane Nate of 2017. Today is actually the exact date, 8 years ago, that that storm made its landfall right in Biloxi. And this is what we're talking about when we say the eye of the storm. This was the radar map of Hurricane Nate as it moved ashore from the Gulf, from the Mississippi Sound. And it's the most recent hurricane to make landfall on the Mississippi coast. Of course, it had some impacts. There was flooding for some of the businesses on Highway 90. There was water covering the road on Highway 90. This is actually a picture that shows, if you look on the left there. Well, first of all, this is a road. You know, Highway 90 is a road where cars are supposed to drive. And you don't see any cars there because the road is covered in water. You know, you got the traffic light right there. And over here on the left, that's actually a dumpster sitting in the travel lane on the road. So that storm surge came in from the Gulf, from the Sound. When Nate made landfall early in the morning on Sunday, October 8th, so technically it was tomorrow, but I mean, it was basically right after midnight. I think it was 12:30 a.m. So some people go back and forth whether it was on the 7th or the 8th. Either way, this is basically that 8 years ago time frame. The eye wall directly hit Harrison, Jackson, and George counties. And with this storm, which was a Category 1 at landfall, there was up to 11 feet of storm surge, 6 inches of rain, 70-mile-per-hour sustained winds. But the best part about Nate is there were no reported injuries or fatalities. So good news with that. Although, you know, that was actually a year. This is the early October timeframe. Cruising the Coast was going on. And I was actually working here at that time at WLOX, and the cruisers, the people who were parked out on Highway 90, they had to rapidly get their vehicles and get their trailers and kind of get out of Dodge, get away from that dangerous storm surge. So it was a pretty hectic time, but I'm happy to report this year Cruising the Coast has no hurricane worries in coastal Mississippi. And you look at this map here, what we're seeing is there's two areas that are being watched by the National Hurricane Center. They're watching this area near the Yucatan, which will go into the Bay of Campeche. A low chance for a system to form from that, but it's not going to be able to come up to our coast because, remember, we are tracking a cool front this week And when we get that cool front to come on down later this week, I believe it moves across our Mississippi coast around Thursday. So that will sweep down into the Gulf around this weekend, and it will block anything tropical from coming anywhere near the Mississippi coast, because that cool front and behind it some high pressure sets up, and that helps to steer systems away from us. So that's why I'm not really worried about this area by the Yucatan, because if it were August, maybe we'd be worried, but it's early October. We're getting a cool front this week. That's our protection from the tropics for the next 5 to 7 days. Now out here way in the Atlantic, you got this other area, Invest 95L. Again, we break down that all the time here. Why is it called that? Invest, because it's being investigated for tropical development. And the number 95, it's really just, they pick a number 90 through 99. They give each disturbance a number. This one's 95. The one before it was 94. The one that'll come after it will be 96. They keep going up to 99, and then they start back at 90. So they just pick a number 90 through 99. And then that L on the end of it is because it is in the Atlantic basin, which includes the Gulf, Caribbean, and Atlantic Ocean. If it were on the other side of North America in the Pacific, in the East Pacific, they're given a letter. I think they're given an E for East Pacific. And then way out in the Central Pacific, they are given, I think, a P. I'm not that familiar with those because I hardly ever look over there. But in our basin, it's an L. Anyway, a closer view of Invest 95L. Moving west at 22 miles an hour. Winds are 35 miles an hour. So if this were to become a system right now, it will be a depression, not a storm, because the winds are not strong enough. 35. It would need to be 39 to be a storm. But it certainly has a well-defined presentation. It's got good outflow. It's got concentrated thunderstorms near an apparent center, which appears to be pretty good circulation around it. So I think this is probably just hours away from being declared a depression or being named a storm. As we go into your Tuesday, I think it's more likely than not, if this trend continues with this thing looking the way it looks, you should not be surprised to hear the next name, Jerry, be used to name that particular system. And here's what our computer models show. If it doesn't develop today, it could also have a high chance of developing tomorrow or Thursday, somewhere in that red highlighted area. And this futurecast shows that storm continuing to move toward the northwest. By the time we get to Thursday, it is just barely reaching the eastern end of the Caribbean Sea. And beyond that, the computer models show what occurs. Just like the rest of the storms this season, it looks like a turn to the north. And in some cases, this could actually be a curve to the north before even reaching Bermuda. Look at some of these early turns before even getting past Bermuda. So it is a possibility that this could turn pretty early. Either way, it does not look like it's going to come close to our Gulf Coast, so we're not really concerned for 95L, or even if it becomes Jerry. It looks like it's going to likely take one of those curves like the last few storms that have happened so far this season. There have been a lot of storms so far this season that have done that, and this one is going to be the same. There's a look at the hurricane season, which continues through November, but it ends at the end of next month, so that's something to look forward to. Like I said, a lot of storms this year have done that. I want to show you the map that includes all of them. So this is a look at all the storms that have happened so far this year as it loads any moment now. There it is. And you can see that the grand majority of them have been in the Atlantic. Only one of them was in the Gulf. That was Barry. There have actually been no storms in the Caribbean. Kind of weird. So most storms out in the Atlantic, and this one, which pretty likely will become Jerry, will join the ranks of most of the other storms this year other than Barry that take that turn. Wherever Jerry is now, it'll just turn on out like that, probably based on the latest information. So good news with the tropics. The Mississippi coast not really under threat of anything regarding tropical activity. But we've got our own weather impacts that we are following today. One of them is fog. We can show you 4 different views, which we are starting to see some improvement. I can tell you that this view at the top right, the Gulfport cam at I-10 and 605, this was way worse just 30 minutes ago. And in the last 30 minutes, now during the 8 o'clock hour, we are finding some improvement there. And it still looks like a good amount of fog in downtown Gulfport, also in downtown Biloxi. So near the coast, looks like it's pretty foggy. This is I-110 by the IP Casino, and it also looks pretty foggy there. We can only see the roof of the IP. So this fog is likely going to continue into the 9 o'clock hour before we see some improvement there. This is what the visibility map shows, the current report during the 8 o'clock hour. As that loads, you can see the visibility down to 3 miles in Biloxi, down to 3 miles in Gulfport. Looks like y'all are doing pretty well over Moss Point, Pascagoula. Visibility almost 10 miles, although it does decrease a little bit closer to Mobile. It might also have some low visibility in Wiggins on the way to Hattiesburg. And then look at this, over in Hancock County, near Diamond Head in the Kill, down to 1 mile. And we have the MDOT cam in that area. I do want to pull that up for you. This is MDOT I-10 east of 603. So this is in eastern Hancock County, very close to Diamond Head in the Kill. And you can see that you can't see. So there is quite a bit of fog there this morning, and that's one of the lowest reports out of our area coming in from that portion of eastern Hancock County. So if you are driving on I-10 this morning, we've been giving you that first alert about this fog throughout the morning hours, and I do expect for these conditions to improve as we go into the 9 o'clock and eventually 10 o'clock hour. So just keep that in mind for your Tuesday morning drive, facing fog, and we'll see what happens later today. We could still see some pop-up showers. Yesterday's rain chance was 60%. Today, 40%. So it's lower, but it's not zero. And it's just enough that you do want to still have an umbrella handy in case we see some of these pop-up showers in the area. You know, yesterday evening during the Long Beach parade, I believe that we were able to get the rain to kind of miss that area as the rain chance decreased. We were talking about this yesterday, that decrease in the rain chance in the evening. So maybe a similar setup today for the flamethrowing competition, as the rain chance might decrease during the evening. And maybe, if we're lucky, we might not have that much rain in that area of Gulfport when things get going and get flaming tonight in the Tuesday evening sky. So be watching out for that. So big picture here, it's a foggy start. It is the muggiest air we have felt in a while, and our temperatures are above normal. It definitely doesn't feel a whole lot like fall today. And we'll deal with some rain chances for now, but a cool front is coming, and that's really going to change the game for us. Just watch on this map how we have all of this humidity with us for now, but then that front sweeps in, we're tracking it. It will arrive on the Mississippi coast on Thursday, based on the latest information. And then behind that front, we will begin to notice lower humidity heading into Friday. We'll notice it even more as we go into the upcoming weekend. So something to look forward to. As the air turns drier, our rain chances go lower. And so that's good news for cruising the coast, as you'll be able to put those umbrellas in the trunk and lock them away. You won't need to worry about using them anymore later this week. Also, the rain chances aren't the only things going lower. The humidity will go lower as well. So even though it is really muggy today, and it is going to also be really muggy tomorrow, once that front arrives on Thursday, the humidity will gradually drop. Friday, you will notice it. I think will be the first day you'll really begin to notice, oh, it's not as humid anymore. And then you'll really significantly notice it over the weekend, as it might be just downright pleasantly crisp at times on Saturday and Sunday, and that feel could continue into early next week too. We mentioned this yesterday, when you get the humidity to come down this time of year, those overnight temperatures can really get quite cool. And we are still forecasting a significant sharp drop-off for those overnight temperatures. So you can see those 60s on the bottom of the screen here. I want to give you some perspective though. So, you know, a lot of people, I put the words fall-like on there mainly because of one, it's going to be crisp and less humid, and two, the mornings are going to be pretty cool. But I did not put that word fall-like on there because the afternoons are going to be, you know, ooh, it's so cool this afternoon. That's not going to happen. See, we're still looking at 80s every afternoon as we go into the weekend, which is actually not that far from normal. Normal is 82 in early October. So we'll be pretty close to normal for the afternoon high this weekend. It's the mornings that you want to watch for because that's going to be that sharper change. The afternoon's not a sharp change, but the mornings are the pretty significant and steep drop-off. See, this morning we've had 70s. Wednesday morning also 70s. Thursday morning still around 70. And by the way, in October, in early October, your normal morning temperature is middle 60s. But we're going to go closer to the middle 60s on Friday morning, and then we blow right past them this weekend, and we'll find lower 60s on Saturday morning, on Sunday morning, and on Monday morning, and that's for the coast. Places that are inland are still expected to be even chillier with some 50s. I believe we showed this map yesterday. We can check it again today, see if there's been any changes. I see even cooler numbers here. Wow. So yeah, Sunday morning, we're finding 57 in Saussure, 59 in Van Cleve, and Gaucher. Usually the coast, usually our zones that are defined as the coast are here. But when it comes to morning temperatures, there's a little tricky thing that happens for Jackson County. Y'all have the Pascagoula River drainage basin, and the cooler air likes to reach the lowest elevation. Cool air sinks, hot air rises. Have you ever put your hand over a pot of boiling water? That hot air is rising. It's hot above the pot of boiling water because heat rises. Cool air sinks. So that happens with this Pascagoula River, where you've got the river that runs. Let me see if I can draw it for you. The river basically runs like this. I'm not going to draw it exactly correct, but in general, that's where the Pascagoula River is. And you've got this cooler air that just really rolls right down into the riverbed like this. And so with that air sinking along the riverbed, that's how they can wind up with cooler temperatures even on the coast, because that cooler air goes into the riverbed in George County and upstream, and then it just rides down the river. So that places that are right next to the Pascagoula River, like Gaucher and Pascagoula, even though y'all are on the coast, which usually makes it not as cool in the morning, you are also near the Pascagoula River, which is usually cooler in the overnight temperatures because the cool air sinks along the river drainage basin. So yeah, in general, most of the coast won't be in the 50s over the weekend mornings, but those are going to be spots, especially by the Pascagoula River, that wind up noticing that you can get those numbers down that low. So something to look forward to if you are wanting cooler, almost chilly mornings. They are not that many mornings away. You got Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday morning, Saturday morning, just 4 away. I mean, I guess we have a 4-day AM low graphic, and it'll show up on that 4th morning there. Well, Saturday it shows a 60, but we were looking at Sunday. Either way, though, you can obviously see just a few mornings away getting to those cooler temperatures. So something to look forward to if you're not wanting it to, feel quite as summery and wanting it to feel more fall-like. We'll see that change by the weekend. Well, that'll pretty much do it for this edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. I hope that you can find your way through the fog. It looks like it's beginning to clear already at that I-10 site in eastern Hancock County. So drive safely this morning, and we'll see you again on the next video.
Waking Up with Wesley has been sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.